Okay, I have another question for you. Another thing that the box has said a lot, it comes up a lot with like photography, photo, camera, dark rooms. Somehow, through the line, is there somebody in your family like photography is a big deal?
I mean, it'd probably be me.
Somebody thinks,
It's either, oh, I mean, my grandpa, I think my grandpa, Papa Dick, which would have been Ray Hope's husband, he did photography, but not, I mean, photos have always been a big thing in our family. We have albums and albums and albums.
very interesting because she keeps on talking about pictures and family.
Cameras and dark rooms.
And for some reason it was just like, funeral has come up right around there. I'm like, was there a photographer at your funeral? Was somebody taking pictures at your funeral? Was your killer at your funeral? Is there pictures of your killer at your funeral? And it's like, yes, like you're getting closer, like we're playing hot and cold, and it's just like, yes. Somewhere, somebody's got pictures of the funeral, and her killer's in those pictures someplace.
Yeah, and that would be Ray Hope, and I'm sure those pictures are long buried.
Like she threw them away someplace?
No, I don't think she'd throw them away.
Like she doesn't look at them often.
She doesn't look
put it
at
in a box. That's like my aunt. Like
So when she dies, whoever's going through her stuff, keep those things because they're significant.
Yeah.
It's come through here a lot.
I mean, pictures, like we as kids used to have, she had albums all across in the living room, and there's hundreds of thousands of pictures, vacations, all that kind of stuff, tons of them.
Just for you, like to keep on the back burner.
Well, I'll be honest, I probably will not be involved when she dies. Like, I'll be lucky if I'm told.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I am with some of my family.
You know, I mean, I think my cousin Jeffrey will call me and tell me, but matriarchs tend to not like other matriarchs.
Yeah.
And so,
Too many hens in the hen.
and like she gave it to me, she passed it on to me, but she doesn't like it when I have to be it. Because she's 98 and she can't.
You're not in charge anymore, old woman. Now it's time to go sit down. Like you were the queen mother, now you are no longer the queen.
Not that I would ever take it, but yeah, like, and my dad's funeral was a real challenge.
I bet.
So, but yeah, because she wanted to like come and clean the apartment and do all this stuff, and I'm like, you do not want to see this side of your son. You do not want to see what I am seeing.
That is something that you can't unsee, so you're better off not doing it.
Yeah. He owned a porn store. There was a lot of stuff in there.
Right, hey, come on over. You found the sexy room in this house.
Oh, it was a whole place.
It was a whole sexy house. It was not just a sexy room.
Yeah. So there.
He was like porn obsessed.
Oh yeah.
Which means that it was just kind of probably a whole deviant lifestyle at that point.
Yeah.
So was she more upset that she couldn't go and see it? Or was she just upset because of...
No, she was in it. Like, she's the one that found him dead. Because we knew he was sick. And so she'd been like coming over and spending.
So she knew what the house looked like.
Right,
You weren't keeping anything from her.
But what's in the drawers in the living room and on the floor, like you can ignore the porn DVDs. You can't really ignore the top pages in the drawers when you got it in the house. So that's why I'm like, in our family, like pretty much everything's fair game. Nothing's really off the table. So because it's just like, whatever. But yeah, but so like Carolyn, the police had family would have been totally aghast. All this kind of stuff because it wasn't proper.
Right.
It wasn't.
It's like eccentric. It's two completely different spectrums.
Yeah. It's like he went off. Like he went to school. He did what he was supposed to do. He became an accountant. He did that for years, and then like. But
And now that I've done my duty, now I want to do something
now
for
I get
me.
to do something completely naughty and different and
That I want to do because I don't really care what you think
Well, I
anymore.
feel
This
like
is
the
what I
more
wanna
you're
do.
told like what's proper and what's not proper, the more you're gonna go the other way when you're independent. You're gonna be like,
Right.
ooh, look at all these things I didn't get to do.
Right. And I think my dad probably had some sort of like I said, he was somewhere probably like this, you know?
Yeah.
Like there just boundary issues.
Different
that we didn't
settings.
know. and wasn't aware. I don't think he wasn't a cruel person, like he was honest to the T. He's not the accountant you're gonna go to try and hide money, because he was not that person. He was just super honest, but like when it came to women, he was going to not respect or value them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that came.
Which I feel like that's almost still like back then, thinking about like the mindset of people back then too. Like women, it looks like pretty often, like they got married like when they were in college. Like after dating for a year or 2 years, it was boom, married, boom, and you're doing this now. A lot of women did not finish their degrees.
Mm-hmm.
At all.
You go to college to get a man.
Yeah.
That was the
Remember, this is way out there. Please don't put this on the tape.
Lisa can cut all this stuff.
Cut this part out.
Lisa, cut this out. People just ignore it. There's nothing that you're gonna do about it. I mean, yeah, I feel like that mindset. People endured things, but never talked about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I just part of it was being raped by a staunch matriarch who, like, but like my grandpa was the most doting man I ever met.
Well, it's like interesting reading articles of people that knew the family, because it seemed like Corinne was the Boy Scout leader, she was the school principal, and people were like, that family was so nice, they were so involved in the community and church and all of these causes and the family,
Right,
but everyone was involved in sports or activities. I mean, Carolyn's pretty much in almost every club that you could have been in. An honor society, and she was nominated. Only 20 people received this huge scholarship, and she was one of the 20 that was filing for it, that was recommended in the U.S. At the time. And no one, everything that people said about her was so nice.
Right.
In general, but you would wonder, like, did she also have this side?
It makes me curious because strong women rarely come across as Donna Reed. You know what I mean? So it makes me really curious. Like, there was stuff that people didn't see.
Yeah, I think like behind closed doors.
Yeah, because like nobody's that clean. Nobody down, like when you get that close and that dirty, but like even I would say in the spirit world, she's not going to show you that side.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't, if that is the entity of those women, is we must look well. I mean, my grandma,
well, that's the thing, that when Carolyn was channeling Karen, and we have this on tape, Karen was like crying about her skirt.
Yeah.
And,
oh God, yeah.
Like, was there something wrong with the skirt? Like the way that she was found? Was that, like, did it get dirty?
Mm-hmm.
Like she had gravel and leaves? She was more concerned about the appearance of what had happened than what had actually had happened.
Right.
It was all about that. And I mean, Karen was like bawling, and it just would not stop talking about this, and she was like doing that,
Yeah.
You were there. I was
That
there,
would-
but like that kept coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be more a definite, like, that would be more embarrassing to, like,
Because she was sad with
like
those
if she was
shoes, no
raped,
scarf.
which I don't know, I don't think that sounds like what's happened, but if she was raped, she
There's
would be
different
more,
theories about
she
it.
would be more embarrassed about the disheveled clothes than the fact that she was sexually assaulted.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
just how those women
The
are.
stoicism of that time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and then
if you
those
look
women,
at her in
'cause,
every
like,
picture, she looks great. I mean,
Mhm.
she's got the loafers, she's got the skirt, she's got the nice blouses, and the nice hair, and
Right.
everything's very put together, always.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's a tall lady too. And at that time, like, can you imagine? You're 5'8", and we're like, well, the killer must have either been similar or taller, or if they were both sitting,
Yeah.
and if she was shot in the car and her body was clearly transported and placed where, and the shoes and the scarf were intentionally placed later as like a symbol. We kept getting the word angel. And actually, when you look at the picture, you're kind of like, oh, kind of. It kind of does look like an angel-ish. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. But none of like her books were found on her. They were all found at home, which is weird in general.
Yeah.
And then like there's different theories that she was waiting for a bus. She had coins in her hand. She didn't. She declined the ride. The interviewed witnesses said her dad was coming. The thing is, Arthur was like 2.5 hours late picking her up.
Right.
And multiple people had offered her a ride. Like her classmates had offered her a ride, and it wouldn't have been that far to go from here to the house. But she still waited.
Because that's what she'd be told to do.
Because he was gonna come, and then Noel came late because they took the girls to the train station to go head up to Lincoln. So, and then they came back 3 times until they finally reported her missing. They came back 3 times to search, nobody saw her. So between 11:15 and 3:50 in the morning, no one had seen her. The last sighting was at around 11:10. And the last person to offer her a ride was the professor. And she declined, and the professor even said she declined. And she was left out here by herself because the buildings were locked up and buses weren't running that late. And so she really was just gonna sit here and wait. And fortunately, we think like the word desperate, she became desperate to get a ride. It was cold. You're waiting outside, it's 17 degrees. How long are you really gonna just wait? Will you get in a car with someone? You know? I don't know.
I didn't get desperate more for the breath.
But I mean, that's just the word that keeps coming up, but we're like, why would she have gotten in a car unless she knew the person? And then things just went wrong. And that person panicked and didn't know what to do and brought her back and dumped her later and was remorseful about it. I mean, at least we feel like the killer was remorseful because it wasn't meant for her. It kind of just happened. So did he get her in the car, try to assault her in the car? She wasn't gonna do that, and then whatever. We don't know.
Yeah, I think it's something about,
No one
like
knows.
Ray Hope said, it's something about a professor. It was in her, the only thing I've ever heard from Ray Hope that she said was that it was or maybe it was my mom, but said that it was a professor.
That they think did it?
Yeah, like as our family, like that's who we've always just thought did it, because she wouldn't have gotten in the car with somebody she didn't know. Like she was proper. She
Right.
would not have gotten in a car with someone.
Would she have gotten in the car if it was like her brother's friend,
I don't know.
a family
Probably,
friend?
if it looked bad, she would not have.
If it was somebody that she trusted, and she was outside, and she was locked out of the building because she'd been out there for 45 minutes, and now it's 11 o'clock, and it's cold, and it's starting to snow, and she's got to pee or whatever, and it's just like, he's an hour late.
Nope.
She wouldn't have gotten in the car with somebody.
Not if she didn't know them.
No, if
And
it
not
was
if
just like,
and not if it looked bad. Not if it would have been perceived as shady or.
It's interesting too. I mean, she had a boyfriend.
if it was her
during
brother's,
this time,
if it was
too.
her, Jack comes up a lot.
We have no
Do
idea
you know
who
who
Jack
Jack
is.
is?
Jack comes up a
Jack
lot.
split up. Is like Jack an ex-boyfriend or
Jack.
something?
Jack split up.
Jackaboo, Jackie, Jack's, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got a lot
Jack
of
comes up a lot.
I don't know Jack. I don't know that name. I mean, I don't know really.
Walter comes up a lot.
We have the Walters in the family. There's a I don't know Walter, but I know that name's been in the family.
I'm curious if Noel had a friend named Walter.
Yeah.
We think that, I mean, she said that whoever was talking to us said that her brother has a friend named Walter.
Yeah. Like I would say that like Walter's just. I mean, it was a common name.
Yeah.
Probably back then too. I mean, it's like.
Yeah,
Jennifer
we found
now.
like 3 in the yearbook that were with that name.
There are several names, and it's really funny because like the session that we were all there, it said Rebecca, it said Betty, it said all this. So Ashley's looking them up, and she's like, guys, we're like, what? And she goes, every one of those names that we just said, they're all in the
They're
same
all the
women's
same
leadership
picture.
group.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. that
They're
was
all
kind of funny.
photographed together, and it's just like, why wouldn't Carolyn have been in that group?
Because
And then
she had died,
And then,
so she wouldn't have
and then
been in that picture.
Ashley goes, well, she's dead. And I'm like, okay, but if she was alive, if that hadn't happened, these were her people, these were her friends. And it's like,
All in
she's
honor society, all having maximum credit hours,
all being
had
involved in
involvement,
things, religious
debate,
involvement.
religion,
Yeah.
campus activities, just,
Queen of
she
Bethel.
was very involved. Because she had actually skipped the event that the family was at was for the Queen of Bethel. It was a religious event that night that the family had gone to. And Carolyn stayed because she had a debate tourney. And so she stayed and she didn't go to the event. She was the one family member that did not go to this event. And she stayed here and she got out of class, she left, denied the ride, no one came to pick her up. She went back into the building, waited with, there were like 3 other girls that were there, 3 guys that were there, and a professor. Those people started clearing out, and then she still waited. Like I said, I mean, people had offered her a ride total that night
She refused rides from everybody.
from all 3 of
Yeah.
them.
She- I
Even
mean-
the professor said she had denied a ride. She would have been the last one here.
Yeah.
Well,
But
just because
if
he
the
said,
family thinks there was a professor.
just because the
we
family
know
said
who was
that
there
she
with
denied a
her.
ride doesn't mean that, I mean, what else are you gonna say? Oh yeah, I gave her a ride. Nope, she got home and, I mean, what's he gonna say? Of course he's gonna lie
What's
about it.
also interesting is we've gotten these gunshot clicks on a couple EVPs. We got them at the cemetery.
I made a video
and we got
of it.
them out here during one of the summits. And it's weird because we don't
Boom,
hear
boom.
it, but in the audio we hear it and it's the exact same sound and pattern.
The same cadence, the same
It's
everything.
so weird.
It happened here after one of our summits. A group was out there investigating and they heard that noise, but nobody heard it with their ears at the time, but playing it back, it was like, that was loud. How did nobody, how did none of us comment on it or say anything about it? The same exact thing happened to us at the cemetery.
Yeah.
None of us heard it.
Years apart, that's the thing, like, why we investigate though, because we will get her to say some of the same things, you know?
And when you do it long enough, you'll start to discover patterns. There are patterns in these things.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know, I just hope that she feels like she was important and loved, and that's why I keep coming back and doing
And I
stuff.
think that that is why we have luck talking to her. She knows that we're invested. She knows that we just don't come in and it's like, if you're here, knock on the wall. If you're
We
here,
also
do this.
don't just like put this out for everybody
No, she
either.
doesn't.
I know
She
I've
doesn't
done it
care.
for like the summit, but I haven't shared everything that we know.
We don't
or
make
have
her,
done.
yeah, we don't make her do parlor tricks. She knows
Yeah.
that we've done our research and we're invested in this and that we care
Although
about
she
what's
doesn't
going
know
on.
why, or
It-
doesn't seem to care why.
She's asked a lot of times and
She's like, why?
She's like, you guys have done more about this than my family have done. I mean, that's the kind of attitude. She hasn't come out and said that, but that's how we feel. It was just
I
like,
also think sometimes, like, I piss her off sometimes because I'm like, I'm getting mad at you. Can you just tell us? Like, I'm tired of wasting my time coming back doing this year after year. It's been 11 years.
and she just keeps on saying, well, why? Like, why is it important? Why are you guys doing this? I mean, I'll talk to you. Yeah, I don't have a problem answering your questions. I just don't know why you
Like,
guys
it just
care.
doesn't matter.
But it's almost like with a sadness, like, you guys care, like, how come all of a sudden, like, you guys care, but nobody cared before? It's just a feeling that we get, it's just like an intuition.
And with her family, if they think a professor did, why didn't they follow through with that?
Because they're
I
Quimbies
mean,
and
I
they don't
think
do
they
that.
did. I'm sure they pushed as far as they could, but, I mean,
We feel like Arthur's mad because we recently just started channeling with him. And it seems like he has things to say that Carolyn's not gonna say. But channeling
Oh, yeah.
with him,
I don't
he's
know.
mad.
He came through at the cemetery and let me
Yeah,
tell you,
he
he
came
was
through.
pissed off. It was like, well,
Like
do
they
you think that the
didn't do
police did
enough.
this? And he's just like,
and he.
Hell no.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I don't know about him.
And he did insurance, I think, too. He was with like the barristers club, too.
they were looking at him as a suspect
They
for a
were,
while to try to
yeah.
rule him out.
So-
And he is not happy about it.
I was gonna
He's
say,
like, you
'cause-
wasted time looking at me, you couldn't find my daughter's actual killer.
And he just said something again.
interesting stuff would be there, I mean, there's crime in the family.
If there's embezzlements and there's all sorts of stuff.
White collar stuff or like criminal
Yeah.
stuff?
Like
We were always thinking
Uh-huh.
if someone was mad enough at him and knew his daughter and knew him and the family well enough, it could have been someone that he would have known
Right.
too.
Well, if somebody that was, if they knew that she was so connected to Ray Hope, if they were pissed with Ray Hope and Dick, it could have been.
Why would they have been mad at Ray Hope? Was she kind of shady back in the day?
She wasn't shady, she was a dominating
Oh.
woman and would have made you look like a moron and probably not thought anything of it. Like,
She will put you in your place
she will
and,
put, Ray Hope has a look that she can give an adult that puts you in your place real quick.
when you feel scolded.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
with just a look and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna leave now.
It's so
Uh-huh.
interesting, like the family dynamics.
And like there was, I don't know the whole story, but I know there was some sort of embezzlement with my grandpa's family. And so my grandpa had to pay it off.
Ray Hope's husband?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Really?
wonder if that's why we kept getting that paid, because we've had paid off, she paid,
Uh-huh. He paid her?
yeah.
So I don't know what all, I mean, there was some high collar, like business dealings and finances and stuff, but I don't know exactly, like,
What's interesting is
those are
that they
things I don't
had
get to
moved
see.
Yes.
from Lincoln. This is like what made us look at this police guy, is that they had moved from Lincoln over here to this Dundee area, which would have been like, this is West Omaha right here, you know, so you know you have money if you're in this area.
Yeah, back in the day, this was the
Back in the
edge
day,
of
this
town.
was the edge of, like, it didn't
Oh,
go
yeah.
further than
This
this.
was- yeah.
This campus was this, 72nd Street was, there was nothing.
Right, yeah.
You know.
Kind of like
right
how
down
Boys
here
Town
was
was when we were growing up. It was in the
no street
boonies.
lights out here, you know, you got milkman, the delivery people, yada yada, the bus.
Now there's almost no gap in between here and Lincoln, and before it was just like,
Yeah.
it was so
Getting
long and
there.
now. uh-huh.
But it was interesting because the police officer that I started looking into moved from the same county, the same time frame that the family had moved down here. He had moved down here and became a detective and he actually worked on the case. But none of his cases have ever been solved. None of them. And then your aunt actually works for him, because I asked her, and she doesn't remember anything like super shady about him. So I was like, what about this guy? Because he had like World War, like whatever. He had experience with guns, he had
Military
experience with the police. He was the lie detection test expert, and they administered that to like 160 some people. And they had done gun collections and tested, and that gun was only manufactured for a certain time frame. So we're like, whoever had this gun had to have gotten it either from military experience or police experience, because that gun's not manufactured. So it's actually pretty rare. And they had collected them. They're just interesting. He was like he worked in a pharmacy too. It was just, I don't know. Then I was like, maybe he has nothing to do with it. It's just a theory. And then I was like looking at the professor, because Professor Bonner, which is who she worked for in the library, and that was her job, was to work for him twice a week. And she only got paid like 12 cents too. But he has World War II experience, and he did medical work also. So I mean, he would have knowledge of that kind of stuff too. Like if you were gonna shoot and kill somebody, you probably have experience with the gun, and he did. And then he also moved college campuses and died as over at Wayne.
A
He was
dean.
like a dean there.
Yeah.
But he became the dean of the history classes here about a year or two after. So he kind of moved up in positions too, but he was the history
He was very
teacher.
popular with the students.
They're actually very good looking as well.
Uh-huh.
I thought so.
He's not bad
But we
looking
thought
now.
maybe, it seemed, based off of some of like the newspaper articles and the quotes and things like that, he would have been a professor that she would have been very close with, as far
He was
as.
very popular. I mean, everyone who knew him, like, they all cared about him.
Yeah.
But like the way that he spoke about her was positive, and also the debate teacher, the way that he talked about her was so positive, and they were quoted in these newspaper articles. And so when you think about professors that would have been close with her, She had classes with both of them.
History.
And,
I swear to God, this is history.
and she had worked for this professor.
Did you say he was in history?
Yeah, he was a history
I
professor,
swear to God,
and
it
then
just
he
said
became
history.
like head of the department. He stayed here for a while, then he transferred to like 2 other universities, I think.
Well, if it was an accidental.
But I feel like the killers were remorseful. One, she wasn't intended. 2, it was opportunity. And I still think,
I would say it was probably somebody that was connected to her. I don't think it was like.
We got that impression from our questions. She would not have gotten into the car willingly with somebody that she didn't. And she says that she got into a car willingly with somebody. That's what she keeps telling us.
Yeah.
She was not abducted. I mean,
See, and so this is just a twisted reality of the day, but also probably she may think that it's her fault.
And
we keep telling her it's
we
not.
have said that several times.
And she
You
says,
need to
"Thank
know." She really did.
But if she'll think that it's her, like she'll assume I made the choice to get in the car. I knew,
Right.
I knew my ride was coming.
We have, because
Well,
we're
and the
both
weird
involved with
thing
the WCA here too. So we have told her that multiple times. It is not your fault. And you don't, if you were afraid of him, you don't need to be afraid of him anymore. He does not have power over you. And
She would have trusted
she's
him
not
and
afraid of it
gotten
now.
in the vehicle.
Implement